Hello, wonderful viewers of Easy English for Everyone. We hope you enjoyed this mystical story about friendship, nature, and magic. This story was written especially for English learners like you. Why not use it to practice your listening skills? Try listening carefully to how the words sound together. Remember, every story you listen to helps you understand English better. Keep practicing, and soon English will feel as natural as your own language. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Happy learning. The Mountain's Secret. Alara and Leo were good friends who loved to hike. One sunny morning, they decided to climb a large, beautiful mountain. They were happy and excited, but the weather changed very quickly. A thick, white fog came down from the top of the mountain. Suddenly, they could not see the path. We're lost. They walked for hours. The wind sounded like a sad song. They were cold and afraid. Then they heard a new sound. It was not the wind. It was a low, angry growl. They turned around slowly. Behind them, between the trees, was a large bear. Its eyes were black and its teeth were very big. The bear was angry and hungry. It started to run towards them. Alara and Leo were too tired to run. They closed their eyes and waited for the end. But the attack never came. They heard a new sound. It was aus of beautiful small flute. The music was all around them in the fog. They opened their eyes. The bear had stopped. It was not angry anymore. It looked confused. It looked at the fog behind them, then turned around and walked slowly back into the forest. Alara and Leo looked at each other. What happened? Leo asked. Then the fog in front of them moved. It became thicker and formed the shape of a person. It was not a real person. It was like a spirit made of cloud and light. It had a kind face. The spirit did not speak with words, but they understood its message in their minds. This mountain is my home. I protect it. You are not bad people. I will help you. The spirit moved through the trees, and the fog opened to make a path. Alara and Leo followed the spirit. They were not afraid anymore. They felt calm and safe. After a short walk, the fog became less thick. They could see the path down the mountain. They were safe. They turned to say thank you, but the spirit was gone. The only thing left was the soft sound of the flute in the wind. And then it too was gone. They never told anyone about the spirit. It was their special secret. They learned that mountains are old and wise, and sometimes they protect those who respect them. They walked down the path in silence, their hearts still full of the wonder they had seen. When they finally reached the bottom of the mountain, the sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and pink. Their families were waiting for them, worried and anxious. Where were you? We were so scared. Alara's mother cried, hugging her tightly. Leo looked at Alara. They had already decided. We got lost in the fog, he sighed simply. It was strange, but we found the path again. It was the truth, but not the whole truth. The spirit was their secret. Life returned to normal, but Alara and Leo were changed. They often met and talked about that day. They wondered about the spirit. Was it a ghost of an old hiker? A guardian of the forest? They never knew. 1 month later, they saw an old man in the village sitting on a bench. He had a kind face and looked very wise. He was carving a small flute from a piece of wood. He looked up and saw them. He smiled. "You to have seen the mountain's heart," he said softly. Elara and Leo were shocked. How did he know? The old man laughed quietly at their surprised faces. "Your eyes have a new light. Oh, come light. Only those who have met the Guardian have that light." "The Guardian?" Leo asked. The old man nodded. "The spirit of the mountain. It is very old. It does not show itself to everyone, only to people with a good heart. You are lucky." He finished his small flute and held it out to them. "Texas, oft. The mountain remembers you." They took the beautiful flute. It felt warm in their hands. "Remember this lesson," the old man said. "The wild world is not just dangerous. It is also full of magic for those who are kind and respectful." Then the old man stood up, smiled one more time, and walked away down the street. They never saw him in the village again. Elara and Leo kept the flute forever. Sometimes, on a quiet evening, they would go to a hill and look at the great mountain. Leo would play a soft note on the flute, and if the wind was just right, they swore they could hear a faint, beautiful echo from the peaks answering them. It was a friendship between them and the mountain, a secret magic that would last their whole lives. Years passed. Elara and Leo grew up. They finished school, got jobs, and life became busy. But their friendship, forged on the mountain, remained strong. They still hiked together, though they never went back to that particular peak. It felt too special, too sacred to visit again. One autumn, a big storm hit the region. It rained for many days. After the storm, Leo saw a news report. There had been a large landslide on their mountain. A part of the forest was destroyed, and many animals lost their homes. Leo immediately called Elara. "Did you see the news?" he asked, his voice full of worry. "Yes," she replied, her tone sad. "I was thinking the same thing. We have to do something." They knew they couldn't fix the whole mountain, but they had an idea. That weekend, they bought many young trees, small pine and oak. Saplings loaded them into their cars and drove to the base of the mountain. They worked all day, digging holes in the soft earth and carefully planting the new trees. It was hard work, but it felt important. They were giving something back to the place that had saved them. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in beautiful colours, they sat down happy. The mountain was quiet. Leo pulled out the small wooden flute from his pocket. It was a little worn from years of use, but it still worked. He played the same soft, simple melody he always played. The last note hung in the air. And then something magical happened. From the trees near the landslide area, a family of deer stepped out. Then a few foxes appeared. Rabbits hopped into the clearing. It was as if all the animals had come to listen. They did not look afraid. They just stood there, peaceful and calm. Elara and Leo held their breath. They watched in amazement. Then the air in front of them began to shimmer, just like the fog had years ago. It gathered and glowed with a soft, silver light. The form was less clear than before, more like a feeling than a shape. But they knew it was the same spirit. A deep feeling of warmth and gratitude filled their hearts. It wasn't words, but a clear message. "Thank you for protecting my home." The spirit's light floated towards the animals, touching each one gently. And then it moved over the area where they had planted the new trees. For a moment, The young saplings seemed to glow with a green and silver light, standing a little taller, looking a little stronger. Then the light faded. The animals quietly returned to the forest. The mountain was still once more. Alara and Leo knew the mountain would be okay. The guardian was still there, watching, and now they had helped it. They walked back to their car in a comfortable silence, understanding that their connection to the mountain and its magic would never end. It was a promise. The memory of that day, the animals, the light, the profound feeling of gratitude stayed with Elara and Leo like a warm light inside them. They visited the mountain often now, not as adventurers, but as caretakers. They would pick up litter left by careless hikers and quietly check on the growth of the young forest they had helped to plant. The saplings, touched by the spirit's magic, grew astonishingly fast and strong. One evening, as adults with families of their own, they brought their children to a safe meadow at the foot of the mountain for a picnic. Leo's young daughter, Maya, pointed up the slope. "Papa, look." "Oh, weit dear." Alara and Leo turned. There, at the edge of the tree line, stood a magnificent stag, its fur as white as snow and its antlers looking like intricate branches of crystal. It was unlike any animal they had ever seen. It regarded them with intelligent, gentle eyes, and for a moment it seemed to glow with a soft, internal light. The children stared in awe, but they weren't frightened. "Is it our spirit?" Ilara's son, Ben, whispered. Leo smiled, a memory of a foggy day and a kind spirit flooding back to him. "In a way," he said softly, "this mountain is a special place. It looks after its creatures, and sometimes it shows us something wonderful." As if understanding his words, the white stag dipped its head gracefully. Then it turned and walked slowly into the forest. It did not run. It moved with a peaceful dignity, and as it disappeared between the trees, a single, pure white feather drifted down from the air where it had been and landed at Maya's feet. She picked it up with small, careful hands. It was soft and warm. That night, by the light of their campfire, Leo told the children a story. He didn't tell them the whole truth. That was still a secret for them to discover one day. Instead, he told them a story about a kind guardian of the mountain who protected all the animals and plants, and sometimes appeared to lost travellers as a helpful white stag or a soft light in the fog. The children listened, their eyes wide with wonder. For them, the mountain was no longer just a pile of rock and earth. It was a place of magic. As the fire crackled, Leo took out the old wooden flute. He played the same gentle melody he had played for decades. The notes danced in the night air, floating up towards the silent, dark peaks. And from high on the mountain carried perfectly locate, come answer. It was the clear, beautiful sound of another flute, playing the same melody in perfect harmony. It played for a few moments and then faded away, leaving only the whisper of the wind. The children were already half asleep, believing it was a dream. But Ilara and Leo heard it. They smiled at each other, a silent understanding passing between them. The mountain remembered. The friendship continued. It was a promise that the magic would live on, not just for them, but for the generations to come. Leo plays the flute one last time, and they hear the echo from the mountain. They sat in silence, listening as the final notes blended with the whisper of the wind. Everyone, adults and children alike, felt a deep sense of peace and warmth. The mountain, which had once been a place of danger, now felt like an old friend watching over them. Years later, Alara and Leo established a small nature conservation fund. They taught children to respect the forest, shared stories of its mysteries without revealing all their secrets, and planted new trees together. When they became very old, they took one final journey to that same meadow. They knew it would be their last visit. They sat holding hands, watching the sunset. Then they saw it, a figure of light, walking toward them. It shimmered with all the colours of the forest. It was the guardian. It reached out to them, and they were filled with nothing but love and peace. They closed their eyes, smiling. The next day, they were found peacefully resting in the meadow. Smiles graced their faces. Beside them lay a small wooden flute and a single white feather. Their children and grandchildren understood the mountain had welcomed them home, into its very heart. And every evening, when a gentle breeze blows, it seems you can still hear the melody of two flutes playing together in perfect harmony forever. Thank you for reading this story. I hope it brought you a little warmth and magic. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe for more tailies. Wishing you good friends and joyful adventures.